Hello everyone and welcome to another random video on the internet. Today we shall be taking a look at a matchup that I think is quite fun. Could Tatsumaki solo the rest of the S-Class? Now obviously Blast is not going to be included because then the answer would be pretty obvious. Another character who isn't going to be included is King due to the fact that his luck powers would make it so that something unexpected happens and Tatsumaki would lose horribly. But if you want an answer to Tots versus all of the S-Class, well, there's your answer, she loses horribly. But now let's actually get into the matchup. Let's start with Tatsumaki and establish how strong she is just to clear up any doubt that she is a worthy foe for all the S-Class put together. Tatsumaki is stated over and over again to be the ultimate weapon of the Hero Association, to the point that she is the reason the Hero Association has utmost confidence in the success in their Monster Association raid team. And that's for good reason too. She completely annihilates Gyoro, who is sometimes considered to be one of the stronger cadres, more on that coming soon. She bullies an amped Psychos who are stated to make Gyoro look like nothing in comparison to herself. Tatsumaki also fights Sairochi, and the only reason she takes any damage in the fight is the fact that she has to hold back constantly in order to not harm the other heroes. And the moment she is allowed to go all out, she one-shots Sairochi. The same Sairochi who upscales massively from Orochi, who has been calculated to reach small planet level with the Gaia Cannon. Sairochi is that, plus Psychos, plus God Amps. She's confident that she can beat Saitama despite having memories of the Baldy casually one-shotting the small planet level Gaia Cannon. Sairochi can also slice continents and has energy that Genos considers unmeasurable. Tatsumaki also straight up blocks one of Sairochi's beams head on, and some people have tried to argue that this was after Tatsumaki had severed some of her energy absorbing roots to make Sairochi weaker. But the thing is, if you reread the fight, Tatsumaki disguises herself as energy and goes through the roots inside Sairochi's barrier. Then she attacks Sairochi directly, not the roots. You can see that Sairochi's body is still connected to the roots just fine and that she is still taking in energy. The roots are all still there. Tatsumaki specifically only destroys the roots after some more combat, and Sairochi even comments on it later herself. So with that established, Tatsumaki casually blocked a beam that should be massively above small planet level, and she does this twice. Once with an invisible barrier, and once without even putting up a full barrier. When Sairochi launches her first beam, Tatsumaki is taken completely by surprise, and she isn't shown putting up any barriers before the beam fires. Next time we see her, she's got a little bit of damage on her, and her clothes are torn up. That means that she likely didn't dodge the beam but simply took it head on. And we know she can block those beams with her barriers, so here she probably didn't have time to put up any, and that's why she took damage. I'm not suggesting that Tatsumaki's skin has planet level durability though. Tatsumaki pretty much has three types of barriers from what I can tell. One is a clearly visible sphere around her, one that is invisible, and she also has a third type, which is basically just energy enveloping her body when she fights. We see it drawn numerous times, and she basically has this on by default whenever she's battling. This is also the barrier shown when Tatsumaki takes the continent slicing beam. So just this passive barrier Tatsumaki has around herself at all times in battle is quite literally planet level. Just to clarify, it's not drawn every single panel. In some panels it's on and in some it's off, but I presume that's because it would be annoying to draw it in every single panel. I don't think it's meant to be Tatsumaki turning it on and off constantly either, as in the same scenes and sequences she's shown with and without it. I think it's just an artistic choice on Murata's part, not actually relevant to the matchup. Overall, Tatsumaki is considered to be somewhat of a walking calamity, able to output enough force to one-shot above dragon level threats, and having barriers that can tank planet-busting attacks with ease. The only thing she really lacks is speed feats, and several S-Class heroes far outclass her in that department. Speaking of which, let's take a look at Tatsumaki's competition here and see if they can stand up to her. I'm pretty sure I don't need to prove that Puri, Tank Top Master, and Pig God are non-factors here. They all scale far below Gums and Fear Ugly and get packed up instantly by Tots. Watchdog Man is a complete unknown right now. Only thing we can say is that he's the sole protector of a city and he wasn't able to kill a hero, Hunter Garo, before he could escape the city. So yeah, Watchdog Man is not doing much here, I'm sorry. Zombie Man can just be launched into space. Drive Knight's best feats come from killing one of the weakest cadres and fighting an extremely nerfed version of Sairochi. Meanwhile, Tatsumaki bodied full power Sairochi. Child Emperor is smart, but his best attack, the Millennium Emperor Nova, doesn't match up to Sairochi's continent slicing beams at all, which Tatsumaki blocked and or survived on 2 separate occasions. Brave Giant would really only be a big target, and if the Esper can crush Sairochi, the robot definitely wouldn't hold. Child Emperor also specifically brought Brave Giant to fight Orochi, and then after seeing what Orochi did to one of Metal Knight's drones, he was like, nah, I'm not fighting that thing. So yeah, Orochi could scare Child Emperor, meanwhile an amped version of Orochi is terrified of Tatsumaki. Speaking of Metal Knight, he is a complete mystery at this point. His implied arsenal is probably extremely OP, but we just haven't seen it yet, and Tatsumaki has the power and scale to wipe out armies of drones with utter ease. Before, might have some crazy Boros level cyborg lying around somewhere, but until we actually see it, we cannot say he does. People argue that the Hero Association is wary of Metal Knight as a threat, despite knowing that they have Tatsumaki at their disposal, but the thing is, Tatsumaki had never gone all out before the Sairochi battle. All the heroes know of her is her suppressed state, so none of their statements about Metal Knight possibly being a threat would apply to full power Tatsumaki. Not to mention that Metal Knight could still do plenty of damage even if he was weaker than Tatsumaki. I mean, with his arsenal he could cause massive collateral damage, so he's definitely still a threat even if he's below one of their heroes, you know? Another argument for Metal Knight is that Child Emperor was terrified of Orochi the moment he found out what he was able to do to just one of Metal Knight's drones. So maybe you could argue Metal Knight's drones are on par with or superior to Brave Giant, which is certainly impressive, but even then Orochi was able to overcome the drone's durability with basic horn attacks, so Tatsumaki would have no trouble one-shotting swarms of them. There's also this one statement from Child Emperor claiming that Metal Knight possesses firepower beyond anything that any lone hero can pull off, which does sound impressive, but you have to remember Child Emperor hasn't actually seen Tatsumaki at full power either. He has only witnessed the very end of her battle with Sairochi, and you also can argue that he wouldn't know the potency of Tatsumaki's attacks, so really he would only be basing it off scale. So, at best, you can argue this statement puts the scale of Metal Knight's attacks above the giant drill that Tatsumaki made, but it wouldn't scale Metal Knight to or above Tatsumaki's attack potency or defense. One flick of Tatsumaki's wrist would be more than enough to wipe out everything we've seen from Metal Knight so far times 100. Moving on, Darkshine is a pillar of the Hero Association, but he's just got nothing on Tatsumaki. His durability and strength are at absolute best above base Orochi based off some author statements. Tatsumaki destroyed a much stronger Orochi, and she can block Sairochi's beams, so Darkshine is not breaking through her barriers anytime soon, and he also does not have the speed feats to be able to blitz her or anything like that. He would be crushed or, at worst, thrown out into space, but more likely he'd just be crushed. Next up, we have Genos, who is certainly one of the most impressive S-Class heroes, and one of the only ones who can actually somewhat match Tatsumaki's AP. He should be relative to Tatsumaki in speed, and his full power beams can match Sairochi's, but Tatsumaki can react to and block those beams as we've seen, and Genos can only act at full power for so long. His durability is also lesser than his attack potency with the energy beams, so he is definitely getting crushed by Tatsumaki. The next few heroes are all in the same boat in the sense that they are all way faster than anything Tatsumaki has shown, but their attack potency and durability is way lower than hers is. First up is Atomic Samurai, who is considered to be one of the stronger S-Class heroes by Darkshine, and with the Sunblade can overcome Golden S's durability. However, Golden S is at absolute best multi-continental. Tatsumaki still scales multiple tiers above that, so there is no way Atomic, with what we've seen from him thus far, could slice through her barriers. His speed is also impressive as he was able to cut Golden S multiple times, but Golden S was also able to intercept his attack from a distance, so they should be around relative in speed most likely. Silver Fang is capable of fighting Sleeping Garo, who is using the Exploding Heart of Lee's Fist, which pushes the body to its limits. So Garo was definitely going all out against Bang in terms of sheer stats, and Bang was able to keep up. Later, Garo goes on to wake up and fight Flashy Flash and Platinum S. I won't be getting into Flash vs Bang here, that's not the point of the video, but for this I'll say that if Garo was even half as fast when he fought Bang as he was when he fought Flash, then Bang is still massively faster than Tatsumaki. The same applies to Flashy Flash. However, both of these guys have nowhere near enough attack potency to break through any of Tatsumaki's barriers once again. Last up, we have Metal Bat, and he is in a weird spot. His scaling is some of the most ridiculous and inconsistent stuff in the entire series, and if you want my thoughts on him, I would suggest checking out this video, where I express some of my complaints with him and why his scaling doesn't make a lick of sense. But for this video, we shall be giving him the benefit of the doubt, as he really needs it in order to be relevant here. So Metal Bat's speed, if you take his feat seriously, is insane. He's able to keep up with Garo, who just blitzed Platinum S, who just bullied Flashy Flash. And his attack potency is also really impressive, as he is able to crack Sage Centipede's outer shell. However, Sage Centipede's scaling only goes up to about Small Planet level, something which Tatsumaki definitely scales far above. I've talked about Sage in this video also, so feel free to check it out if you're interested. But regardless, most of this is when Metal Bat is insanely amped by Garo, although his speed and pace does debatably scale to late monster Garo, which is insane as he's keeping up with him even before really getting pumped up, which again is absolutely ridiculous. But for this video, we're just giving him the benefit of the doubt. So with all that established, how does this fight go? Even if all these guys team up and attack Tatsumaki all at once, one hand swipe from the Esper will wipe them all out. Her attack potency is orders of magnitude above anything at their disposal, and she can twist their heads off whenever she pleases. Even if you argue people like Flash and Metal Bat are too fast for her to catch, she can always just increase the gravity around the battlefield to such a level that they're all pinned to the ground and crushed, or just unable to move. She can also create a massive barrier that encompasses the entire battlefield, and then just shrink it until she crushes all the heroes inside of it, and so on. Tatsumaki has several ways to kill every single S-Class, no problem. However, some of the heroes are definitely a lot faster than her, to the point that you can easily make the case for them blitzing her. If the battle starts out and say, Flashy Flash instantly blitzes over to her and chops her head off, the S-Class would win. But one thing to counteract this is that Tatsumaki always fights with an aura of energy around her. I spoke about this before. Whenever she's in combat, she has a skin-tight shield passively active. That shield can take the full force of Sairochi's planet-level beam head-on, and while a tiny portion of the energy was able to slip through and damage her clothing, overall Tatsumaki was completely fine afterwards. Flashy Flash's sword would snap on impact on some Phaeton vs Zazan energy. Bang would break his wrist trying to punch the barrier. Metal Bat's arms would probably snap off if you put all this force into swinging at the shield. It's just not looking good for the S-Class if the shield is on. In the end, I believe what this battle comes down to is how fast the barrier forms around her when the battle starts. If it appears instantly, it's over. None of the S-Class can break through no matter what. But if Tatsumaki takes even a little bit of time to activate it, Flash, Metal Bat, Bang, and arguably Atomic all have the speed necessary to blitz over to her and attack her while she's still unguarded. One might argue that Tatsu is cocky and she wouldn't put up the barrier right away, but the barrier is by default always on when she enters any battle. So I guess it really just depends on if she enters the fight battle ready or not. Like, if all the heroes are on an open battlefield and there's a countdown to the battle, if Tatsumaki is allowed to activate her barrier before the bell rings, or even just at the moment it rings, then none of the heroes can really touch her. And then, if the battle takes place in a similar setting to, say, the Monster Association raid and Tatsumaki flies into a base to kill all the S-Class heroes, That's it, she's got a barrier active and the fight is over. She's battle ready. But if it's the opposite and Tatsumaki is not ready and doesn't start the battle out already in a barrier, there's definitely a good chance she could get blitzed and one-shotted. Her base durability without any shields can be overcome by people like Black S. Granted, Tatsumaki was greatly weakened, but her skill really shouldn't be any less durable for it. So many of the S-Class could definitely one-shot her. Starting distance is also a factor here when determining whether or not Tots could put up the barrier quickly enough to not get blitzed. There are also a few arguments I can think of for Metal Knight, specifically using poison gas, radiation, or maybe some anti-psychic weapon. But again, we just don't know if he has something like that, and radiation or gas would take too long to reach Tatsumaki. Again, one swipe of her hand and the entire opposing team is crushed. She can also fly high into the sky to avoid getting gassed and other things of that sort. So overall, Tatsumaki scales massively above the entire team, and if she enters the fight battle already, there's nothing they could do in my opinion. But if she starts out without her shield active, there's definitely a good chance that one or a few of the faster heroes could catch her and deliver a lethal blow. Personally, I would say Tatsumaki wins maybe 8 or 9 times out of 10, that 1 to 2 times being the unlikely scenarios that she is not fully battle ready when the fight starts, and the S-Class can instantly capitalize. But that has been it for me today. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below, and please be respectful. This is just my take on a series I enjoy, and ultimately it is meant to be fun, guys, not toxic. Please keep that in mind. But with all that being said, I wish you a good rest of your day. Goodbye.